It's Friday in Nashville, Tennessee. That can mean only one thing. It's time for Growth Profits, where today we're going to talk about the entrepreneurial dream and 3 tips toward making that a reality. Stay with us. Hi, folks. I'm Sean Crabtree.
And I'm Cameron Bailey.
You got one shot at this life.
Why would you not make it the best that it can be?
This show comes to you weekly about happier clients, better results, making more money, and enjoying the ride.
Let's get started.
Welcome back to Growth Profits, a show that comes to you every single Friday from Nashville, Tennessee, with ways, as you already know, for you to have happier clients, better results, making more money, and enjoying the ride. Today, even though I couldn't say it a moment ago because Mr. Producer was laughing at me at the time, we're going to talk about the entrepreneurial dream. It's the American dream. The entrepreneurial dream and 3 tips toward making that dream a reality for you. So, as you know, I have been in business myself as an entrepreneur for the last probably 30, 25 plus years. And so in trying to compile this into a really useful, beneficial sort of a quick video, I picked the top 3 things that I've learned along the way in becoming a successful entrepreneur. So how does the Google? Let's take a swing through the jungle of knowledge and see what the Google says as the definition of an entrepreneur. It says an entrepreneur, a noun, is a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses taking on greater than normal financial risk in order to do so. Taking on greater than normal financial risk in order to do so. Make no mistake, if you are an entrepreneur, this is going to be, the greatest realization of your dream, and it's going to be the toughest thing that you've ever done in your entire life. You know, I had an interview, Mr. Producer, as you know, a couple of years ago with a gentleman by the name of Matt Monero, who is a very, very successful entrepreneur. He had, at the time, I think he had a $30 million company, very, very successful, and I think his second book was out. And at the time I was interviewing him, I spent a lot of time sort of researching some really great questions that I wanted to ask Matt Monero while I have the opportunity to interview him. I was in his office, and as I was leading up to like the first question, this was in my lead up, I said something, I quoted a stat. You know, Matt, there are only 8% of the population in the U.S. that's an entrepreneur. And I was leading to my question. He jumped in right away and he said, you know what? It's too high. It's too high. 8% is too high. Because I don't believe that 8% of the population has the guts to be successful as entrepreneurs. That was interesting to me. And, after thinking about that for quite some time, I have to say, I agree with him. And so when we're talking about the entrepreneurial dream and how to make that a dream a reality, there's 3 tips I would tell you. But the first thing before we get into those 3 tips is, if you listen to some of these guys who have been successful, like Monero, myself, others, they'll tell you it's tough. It's tough, and you got to realize that going in. It is absolutely one of the most rewarding things you can do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here even listening to me right now. However, you know it's going to be tough, and the quicker you face that realization, then the better off prepared you are to even implement the 3 things that I'm going to give you today. So, as an entrepreneur, there's 3 big things that I would tell you that you need to get very clear on right out of the chute. First and foremost, and this may sound like, Crabtree, why in the world would you make this the number one thing? Here's the first thing I tell you. As an entrepreneur, you already are a little bit of a risk taker, or you wouldn't be an entrepreneur, right? You already are the kind of person who sees opportunities in many, many things, right? that can lead, and probably will lead, to you having attention deficit disorder if you don't already have that. That's okay. Having ADD is part of being an entrepreneur. Hey, embrace it, man. Don't shy away from it. Embrace it. That's okay. But realize that one of the most important aspects that you can have as an entrepreneur is the criteria that you use to make decisions. Now, what am I talking about? If you have ADD because you're an entrepreneur, or if you're an entrepreneur because you have ADD, you have a propensity to make decisions as they fly at you throughout the course of a day. And if you've got your focus spread across a whole bunch of different things, when these decisions come at you, you need to have a criteria from which all of your decisions need to be filtered through. Every single one of them. So that in the moment, no matter what you have going on, you always come back to the criteria that you use for decision making. So the first tip I would give you toward becoming a successful entrepreneur is decide up front what is the criteria that you're going to use to make decisions. Now, I'll be honest with you, I learned this. I learned it through a mentor early on in my career, but I tell you, I've come back to it 1 million, 2 million, 5 million times, and it has served me well. You have to decide this for you. For me, there's 4 things that I use in making all decisions. It doesn't matter how small or how large. It doesn't matter what the subject matter for the decision is. Number 1, I want to make sure that whatever decision I make in a certain situation is going to serve my overall vision of who it is, how it is, what it is, and where it is that I want to be. Go look at some of our other videos on creating your vision. The second thing that I use as criteria is, does it serve my clientele? The third thing is, does it serve the people on my team? And the fourth thing is, does it serve my profitability? Now, I could have, they're not really 1, 2, 3, 4 because they're no particular order, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what the order is. The trick is, I want to filter every single decision, again, no matter how small, no matter how large, through all 4 of those things. In other words, it's got to serve all 4. If it serves 3, it's not a good decision. It's got to serve all 4. So if in the moment I can't figure out this decision and how it would serve all 4 of those things, I'm not ready to make that decision. I know that goes against your entrepreneurial spirit, but you know what? It will serve you in the long run. So the number 1 tip toward making your entrepreneurial dream a reality is decide on the front end, day number 1, or year number 5, if that's where you are. Because if you are in year number 5, then you understand what I'm saying. If you don't have criteria for making decisions, then you and I both know that you're making those decisions based on how you feel in the moment, based on who's involved in the moment, based on whether or not your spouse yelled at you when you left the house this morning. None of which are great criteria for decision making. So decide up front. What are the 3 or 4 things that you're going to use to filter all of your decisions through from here on out, and then stick to it. Number 2, what we're talking about here is, as the entrepreneurial dream, what are the things that you need to implement to make that dream a reality? Number 1, decide how you're going to make decisions. What is those criteria that you're going to filter them through and stick to it? Number 2 is, make the main thing the main thing. Oh, what the heck am I talking about? You know, here's the thing that I've learned about you and I as entrepreneurs. We tend to get excited about the industry in which we are working within. What you and I have to be clear about is that is not the main thing, and we have to make the main thing the main thing. So what am I talking about? You have to put a focus equal, if not more than, on working on your business as you do in your business. Now, if you've been in sales, or if your entrepreneurial company is in sales, then on a small scale, you understand what I'm talking about, right? You're looking for clientele all the time. If you don't focus on keeping your pipeline full and you're only focused on working with the clientele that you have, then when you run out of clientele, you got an empty pipeline and you're looking at yourself in the mirror going, what the hell was I thinking? Now, that doesn't only apply to a sales business. When we're talking about working on your business versus working in your business, we could be talking about if you're a CPA, if you're an attorney, if you own an HVAC company. It doesn't matter what your entrepreneurial business is. You cannot put all of your focus on working in your business. You've got to put an equal, if not more, focus on working on your business. Yes, of course, that's pipelines and new clientele and all that. But it's also communication with people on your team. It's also making sure that you've got focuses on strategies to be able to make systems better. It's a focus on having systems, tracking those systems, communicating with your team on a regular basis to be able to show that those systems are improving. And you're talking about the tracking, and you're working through challenges that are preventing those systems from being implemented. You're probably having morning meetings on a regular basis so that you're focused, everybody as a group, on what it is that we intend to accomplish today. You're probably also having afternoon meetings so we can celebrate the thing that worked today, and we can also talk about solutions for the things that we didn't maximize today. Putting a focus on your business versus working in your business is one of the most important things that we see on my team all across the United States of America. It's the easiest thing in the world to do, is put all your focus on running really hard inside your business, and you've got no focus on working on the business. What we're talking about here is the entrepreneurial dream, and 3 big tips that you need to implement to make that dream a reality. Number 1, decide up front what is the criteria that you're going to use for decisions, and then stick to it. No matter how small or how large, there's always a way to serve those criteria. Number 2, make the main thing the main thing. Working in your business is not your focus 100% of the time. You need to put as much focus, if not more, on working on the business as you do working in the business. And the number 3 big thing that I would tell you to do that has served me 1,000 times, even when I didn't think it was a great idea at the time, is to create what I call a WSH fund. You know what the WSH fund is?
Can't say I do.
The WSH fund, Mr. Producer, is a number of months of expenses in an account that you set aside specifically for WSH when stuff happens.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, stuff is gonna happen. Now, if you're like me and you've decided that my decision-making criteria is those 4 things, no matter how small or large my decision is, no matter what the subject matter of that decision is, I want to make that decision in a way that serves my vision, serves my clients, serves my team, and it serves my bottom line profitability. Bottom line profitability has got to be a focal point always. And still, when stuff happens, and it will, your profitability is not going to be there. And if you don't have a WSH fund set aside to get you through a number of months, then your business, your dream will go away and it will be gone. You have to have a WSH fund set aside. For me, this is it's a personal thing, right? There's no rule for how this thing should look. It's how much comfort do you need when stuff happens is what it boils down to. You know, for us at the Crabtree Group, we have 3 to 6 months of our expenses set aside. We keep them in a fund, and it's called the WSH, and nobody touches it until stuff happens. And when stuff happens, that is the fundage. You like that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's a word. The
I don't
fundage?
think it is, but it works.
And there you go, folks. Some new information that you learned right here. We just created a new word called fundage. And that fundage is used specifically for when stuff happens to pay all of your bills. So if the world comes to an end, right, you've got 3 to 6 months or 2 to 5 months or whatever amount you feel comfortable with to get you through. So you have no problem paying your bills, paying your suppliers, paying your people. Life goes on, right? At the end of the day, these are the three of the biggest things that I can think of. And as I was creating this, I can tell you over the last 25 plus 30 years, whatever it is, that I've been an entrepreneur, I can tell you these are the three biggest things. Now, there's a million other things that you and I can use as great advice in becoming a successful entrepreneur. But if you stick to those top three things, everything else is kind of secondary. Without those three things, your dream is going to go away, and I don't want that to happen to you. So when it comes to the entrepreneurial dream and three things that'll make it a reality, number one, decide what is the criteria that you're going to use to be able to make decisions and stick to it, no matter what the subject matter is. Number two, you got to put the focus where the focus should be. You got to make the main thing the main thing. And the main thing is not what you do in your business. It's what you do in working on your business that allows you to do the stuff you do in the business. So you got to put an equal, if not more, focus on working on your business and all of the things that we talked about there. And the number three big thing is you got to have it, a WSH fund. When stuff happens, see how I kept the clean version of that? Yeah. When stuff happens, you need fundage, the word of the day. You need fundage to be able to pay the bills for an amount of time that you feel comfortable. At the end of the day, those three things are going to allow you to live out your dream. At the end of the day, those three things are going to allow you to have happier clients, better results, make more money, and enjoy the ride. And that's the only reason we come to you every single Friday, because I want you to have happier clients, better results, make more money, and enjoy the ride. I'm Sean. Thanks for joining me on today's Growth Profits. I'll see you next Friday. Same time, same channel.